the narrative of we only need to be this or that, or we're not good enough, or we're only need to play sports. I mean, that just needs to go out the window. Nothing against my athletes. My brothers know, y'all, I got athletes right now in the league. Y'all know who y'all are.
Or what was the thing that you were like, man, I made it, and you were able to just like relish in it?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's blazing some Drake or some Big X in the OR, like Jizzy. Like, I mean, I'm still focused. I'm still focused, please. Now, a little boy in the Philippines or in the Bahamas or, in Ghana, Nigeria can see, I can be an orthopedic surgeon too. Look at him. He looks like me, his hair looks like me, his face looks like me. He's talking like me. Like, why not? And that hope is all you need, because we are some of the most brilliant, intelligent, creative, strong-willed people ever.
Welcome to Comfortable Conversations. I'm your host, Jas Kirk, where we dive into the greatest gift life can offer, discomfort. I'm so excited for today's episode because when it comes to just excellence, Black excellence, and legacy, we're going to dive into something so powerful. When you think about discomfort, it's really not about just the life you've lived. Sometimes there are paths that were paved from you, from your family, and generationally. We don't do anything alone. And so today's guest, Dr. Brian Nwannunu, is an orthopedic surgeon specializing in hip and knee replacement at the Texas Joint Institute. He's a Dallas native and graduate from Townview Magnet Center, where he was valedictorian before going to earn his bachelor's degree in biology from Morehouse College. Brian holds a master's degree in physiology with a concentration in complementary and alternative medicine from Georgetown University and his medical degree from Howard University College of Medicine. He was inducted into Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society. Brian completed his orthopedic surgery residency at John Peter Smith Health Network in Fort Worth, and advanced fellowship training in adult reconstruction at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston. Y'all, his resume is long. I'm going to keep reading because he deserves it. He is certified by the Texas Medical Board and has passed Part 1 of the American Board of Orthopedic Surgery exam. Beyond his clinical practice, Brian has contributed to published orthopedic research, presented nationally, and participated in international medical missions, including providing surgical care in Guatemala with Faith in Practice. He is also an active member of associations such as the American Medical Association, National Medical Association, and the American Association of Hip and Knee Surgery. Brian, what don't you do? That is the real question.
Well, I don't sleep enough. I'll tell you that much. Well, thank you for having me on. It was an honor.
It is an honor to have you here. You're coming straight from work. So you are ready to dive deep into having a comfortable conversation. I'm excited because as I was reading your very lengthy but powerful resume, all I could think was how much legacy and Black excellence is there. Like the rooms you've been in, the research, the education. And then I'm like, who comes before Brian? Who's paved the way for Brian to even step into these rooms?
Well, I mean, I can honestly say, I'm honored to, be amongst very, very, very few people that have been in these rooms, but there are giants that I stand on the shoulders of my mentors, folks that have led the way, that have paved the path that, I would never be able to be here, without them. So there's many people, but, I'm grateful to be here.
So take us through being a graduate of Morehouse, Howard, like HBCUs, getting degrees in medicine from these universities.
So Morehouse College was Honestly, not on my radar as college until maybe my junior year of high school.
Okay.
I'm like you said, from Dallas. I was thinking I was going to go to UT Austin or Rice or somewhere local like SMU, right? I ended up going on a college tour to Atlanta where we toured Morehouse College, Clark Atlanta University. The ladies that were with us got a chance to tour Spelman College, and the experience there was phenomenal. I
Okay.
mean, we saw completely nothing but Black and brown people that looked like me that were there, educated, getting to college, getting a degree, making their life different. And I'd never seen anything like it.
Okay.
And immediately after that college tour in junior year, I was hooked.
Really?
Yeah.
My brother, I did not go to a HBCU. I went to the University of Illinois at Chicago.
USC, yeah.
But my little brother went to an HBCU, and I'm gonna tell y'all this, and he's gonna be so mad at me, but he is married to a Black woman right now with 2 kids. But he said, I will never marry a Black, because we went to an all-white school. And he said, I don't think I'm marrying a Black woman. And he went first month at an HBCU, Jackson State. He said, I love Black women. And he pledged a fraternity, Black fraternity and everything. So I was like, something in the water down there. Once you get with your people, like, you're like, oh my God.
You're hooked. You're hooked. That's correct. Yeah.
So take us through, the one thing I always think about is like right now, culturally, when it comes to HBCUs, there's so much advocacy there, but also like when it comes to clothing and style, I think is it Morehouse that Ralph Lauren did that campaign?
Right. Yeah, it did.
So how did that feel seeing that?
So I mean, one, it was remarkable. I mean, some of the things we at Morehouse know is we have something called freshman orientation, and during that time, all the freshmen have to wear blazers,
Really?
ties, dress shirts. Right. This is a part of our uniform, right? So we already knew presenting ourselves was a part
Of excellent, presenting excellence is
Exactly.
part of,
we consider ourselves the Morehouse Renaissance men.
okay.
It's the 5 wells: well dressed, well traveled, well read, well spoken. So it's like being well dressed was something that was pretty much championed throughout. Now of course you can be comfortable and wear your shorts and your sweats and all that and your hoodie and of course be comfortable, but it was always known that being professional, being presentable was something excellent. So once we found out about that Ralph Lauren and Morehouse campaign, I mean, we were stoked, and we know some of our Morehouse alums that were actually a part of that campaign. So I mean, it
Oh,
was,
that's so cool. That is really cool to know the like breath and heart behind that. But it's like day one, there's excellence. So having that experience, do you feel like it created the trajectory of your life of like you obtaining and achieving really monumentous goals?
Yeah. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, one, at the institution, everyone looks like you. Well, most people. There's one or two that are not, it's okay.
There's
It's
a
still my
sore
brothers,
thumb there.
No, they're still my brothers, but everyone looks like you. Your professors look like you. Your mentors look like you. The alumni looks like you, right? So they absolutely want you to succeed. There is no room for not succeeding. If they see you failing or they see you struggling, everyone's coming to rally behind you. So
Really?
it was one of the few communities where, you had support unconditional.
Oh, wow.
And, for those of us that went into certain professions, medicine, law, etc., we had our own little medical career societies, law societies, etc. And you had mentors, and you had people who were in your field that you can look up to. First time that I actually went to a hospital or even went to an OR was as a Morehouse student, shadowing my profile. I also pledged Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And he was an orthopedic surgeon at the University of Virginia, UVA. So I got a chance to wear his white coat as a college student and get a chance to shadow. And so like you get to see that visibly. And that was the type of environment we had at Morehouse. That was, it was invaluable.
I think that is really powerful. And you just like, it gave me goosebumps to think of like HBCUs are one creating this space where you can mimic it now. Like it's lived and you see the path and you have people who can tell you like, this is the way to go. You still make it your own, but there's that. I keep coming back to this excellence, because when you're impeccable with your word and impeccable with your style, like I like to show up as the best version of me. If I'm in the grocery store, y'all may see me like this. Let me live. Let me live. But it's like, that's powerful to know culturally, this is how we're showing up as a culture. But I do wonder, as you were sharing that, are there discomforts that meet you there, right? Like you have so much community, you have this excellence, you have this support, but what does it look like going to an HBCU, and is there a little bit of discomfort?
Well, there is, because I learned that, Black people are not a monolith. There are so many different types of Black people, whether it's people like myself, African descent, which we're all from African descent, but first generation African descent. There's people who are first generation Caribbean, right? People who are from very high socioeconomic status. It's people who are from literally the projects. It's people who were former prisoners.
Yeah.
Literally were incarcerated, and you all come together and you just had different mindsets and different viewpoints, but you learn we have a common goal.
Yeah.
Some people think, oh, you want to be a doctor, or you're not a hustler. Some people think, oh, you ain't never been to jail before, or you're not real, And it's just seeing the different backgrounds come together, and we all have a common goal, which is fascinating. But it could be uncomfortable.
So you brought up, okay, I'm gonna dive into this. The different Black. I think I really want to dive into African-American. Is there some type of discrimination or things that happen within that? Because I think that's a whole topic that, as a culture, sometimes we tiptoe around, but we know we all have different experiences of Black or not Black enough. Like sometimes I get my Black card took, and sometimes I don't even hold the Black card because people be like, Jas, and I'm like, I'm just being me.
Yeah. No, I mean, and you hit it on the nose, right? I'll just say it, it was not always cool to be African. I love it now because, we have Afro beats, and, we have people like Burna Boy and Davido and Wizkid and Tim's, and they collabing with all the, very popular R&B and hip hop artists. And it's really putting Afro beats and Africa on the map as far as the entertainment side, right? And even you think about now with Ghana, Ghana is allowing you to come over there, get a dual citizenship, the Earn Your Leisure folks, shout out to them. They're buying up all kind of property.
Yes.
It's absolutely beautiful, and I love it. But when I was growing up, it was not cool to be African.
Okay.
You get made fun of because your name is different. You get made fun of because our parents didn't know what fashion was. They were working. They wanted you to go and get straight A's. Like, you had shoes that were from Walmart, you think you get a haircut every 2 months, You had Nigerian food that has a certain, smell, if you will, and people would critique you on that smell, thinking that it's you or your hygiene, not knowing like you had a wonderfully cooked meal that just happens to smell, in a certain way because the spices. And, having those type of interactions early on, it was hurtful. It was hurtful. I mean, as an elementary student, I was always very outgoing. I was always very athletic. Again, because my parents championed schoolwork, I was always very smart. So I was popular, but, you still would get made fun of. And I had the privilege of having 3 of my brothers with, we were all back to back to back. So we were at school together as a force.
Yeah.
So I was never fully alone, but it still felt like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And as uncomfortable as it was, it did teach me that, you don't have to sit in.
Yeah.
And I learned early on, like, what, I don't have to sit in. Everyone doesn't have to like me. I'm going to do me. My family loves me. There are still people that love me for me. And that's how I kind of grew up, taking that discomfort.
But when it came to identity, you really had to sit with like, not everybody's going to look like me. And then you experience Morehouse. That's like, everybody looks like me. We're champion. There's this level of excellence. But then as you continue within your medical career, you do go back to you're the only one. And I wonder, how do you continue to achieve each goal? What is your mindset like going into, you know, Howard and all progressing, knowing like it's slimmer and slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, and those experiences.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I'll just say, Morehouse was so amazing. I kind of forgot what that outside world felt like.
Yeah.
We were so insulated. We had, again, complete support and encouragement. Everybody was just looking out for each other, right? Before I went to Howard for medical school, I did get a master's at Georgetown. Now, Georgetown and Morehouse are completely different cultures, completely different environment. Georgetown is a predominantly white institution, an Ivy League school in Washington, D.C. Morehouse is a HBCU in Hotland,
Yeah.
And not only was the weather different, but the whole feel was different. Again, coming from Morehouse, I learned to present myself. So as a master's student, I always dressed appropriately. I'm in sweaters, I'm in cardigans, I'm in slacks, I'm in chinos. I'm always professional. Because I lived off campus, and I'd take the MARTA or the train onto campus. But even like that, I still would get discriminated against. Are you a student? Where's your badge?
And this is at Georgetown.
At Georgetown.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to the library, 15 students can walk by, and I'm the only one get singled out. Like, what are you doing here? Are you a student here? Let me see your badge. Completely different environment.
Yeah.
Coming from Morehouse, where you're just doing you. You're just expected to just focus and keep your head down and be excellent. And those were reminded. I got through it, but right before my spring semester, last class, I experienced a really, really, really tough situation where my professor in one of my high-level science classes at the time didn't believe that I was intelligent.
Oh, wow.
He didn't know why I was scoring so high, why I was getting such good grades, although I had the pedigree that showed I was valedictorian in high school, graduated with honors from Morehouse, got accepted into this program with a transcript that I could not make.
She's like, there's no way, something's up.
Didn't believe it at all. And even went as far as saying one of our final projects that she felt I plagiarized on, sent me to something called the Honors Council, which I'd never heard of before in my life, which essentially it measures student conduct. They had to literally look at my paper, go through the citations, put it in whatever database to see if it was plagiarized, and found that it wasn't. Because she tried to fail me that final course, and I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Fast forward that same probably week or month, at least this is in May, I got my acceptance to Howard, and I didn't want to go to any other school.
You said, I'm coming back. I got to go back. But I have two questions. What makes you fight, and how is your mental health during that time? Because as a Black man, you can't really get angry and rage, because then that's against you and the system becomes then against you.
Exactly.
So what becomes your reaction, and what makes you fight, but how do you fight?
Well, first, it's my upbringing in the Lord. I knew that God had me at all times. I have a praying mother, I had a praying grandmother. I went to prayer meetings all grown up, throughout life. So I understood the word and that I was covered, But secondly, I had a pride in my family. And that's another thing why I appreciated growing up Nigerian, was that, my parents were like, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. It doesn't matter who's making fun of you. It doesn't matter, what they think, Are you handling business?
Yeah.
Do you know where you come from? Do you know who your grandfather is? My grandfather, so my dad's dad, literally owned banks, had streets named after him, had a 3-story mansion, when people at that time were literally living in huts.
Yeah.
And not that I condone it, but, he had 14 wives, so he was a rich African man. And this is my grandfather.
Yeah.
And at that time, you don't just have wives if you don't have money. So, it let me know you come from
greatness. Yeah.
Like, it's inside you. So it doesn't matter what's around you. So whenever I'd be met with any obstacle, we were always fighting, even physically sometimes.
Yeah.
My brothers, at the bus stop, and so I grew up being fighting.
So this was nothing new. It didn't seem like your character, because I had to think about someone else who is also a Brian. Maybe they're experiencing this right now or had experienced it, and it got the best of them. Like, how do you that is it that excellence that you were taught and that was, put into the thread of your being and be like, my character, you can't do anything to my character. I know who I am, but how do you lean into that? Like you can be, there's a lot of people exposed to really great opportunities, come from really great backgrounds, but at some point you have to step into that and say, this is me and I love me and I own that.
Yeah. I would say it was early academic success that helped me to know that I am intelligent. Uh, it was even success, in sports,
Okay.
doing well with the team and doing well with adversity. And then it was just success and just winning people over. I've always been a humanitarian. I've always loved people. I always liked to, talk to the girl that didn't like me just to see if I could make her like me and win her over, just because I just like to see what's going on. I like to understand the other perspective. So I always had a belief in myself,
Okay.
and when things didn't go wrong, I first would be introspective. I would say, did you give it your best? Did you do your A game? Did you prepare? Did you do everything you could? If the answer was no, well, then you got to get better.
Yeah.
If the answer was yes, I gave myself grace and said, this is out of your control. This is somebody else's doing. This is somebody else's jealousy or animosity or whatever you may be. And it's just maybe not meant for you. And I think at the end of the day, I always understood if I was not allowed into somewhere, it's just not meant for you.
So in this, as you were talking, it made me think of Brene Brown's Rising Strong and the different obstacles and the rumbles and all the things we go through. But in the book, she talks about wholehearted people believing people are doing the best they can. And so when you just, even the compassion to have for yourself to say, I did the best I could, but it's based on the work that I've actually done that I can pull up fact of, I did the best I could and that just wasn't for me. But this makes me transition into just the healthcare field as a whole. When it comes to healthcare, a lot of healthcare workers, you guys have long hours. You have, when you look at the statistics for mental health and your well-being, it's very low. You have a lot of healthcare professionals that physically don't take care of themselves, that affects them mentally, emotionally. But then also, I definitely still want to know what is it like? You still are a Black man in a profession that is not predominantly anything like you. So what does that look like now?
So, and you mentioned it, there's only 2% of Black orthopedic surgeons in the United States.
Okay.
And so it is very rare. Of course, I was given the privilege of going to Morehouse College or Howard University for medical school. And so just the alumni from those institutions ended up becoming orthopedic surgeons. And I know several that are Black, men, women, et cetera. So I have someone that I can, or people in the community that I can bounce ideas off of. But even as of today, this morning, I got a message from a staff member that felt I was aggressive.
Oh, wow.
I was angry, felt that I was standoffish, which I have no idea how they got that feeling. I mean, one, I almost overly try to accommodate myself in situations where patients are there or there's other people there, because I know the perception, right? You're a big Black man, you're looked at as, the domineering guy, that people are automatically gonna feel uncomfortable. So I always come down, I always try to make it warm. So when people feel that way, it's still, I feel a prejudice, that still happens, and even going back to my residency, I was the third Black orthopedic surgeon to come through my residency ever.
Oh.
And still the third. And the residency started in 1968.
Wait, you were the third. When was this?
So I did my residency from 2015 to 2020.
And since that time, there were only 3.
And there hasn't been one since.
So we're 2025.
Still today.
You're telling me, and they couldn't find one.
Till today, yeah. So it just lets you know the environment, and even there, I mean, again, the hostility is from everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not just from your peers. I mean, it's from the nurses, it's from the administrators, it's from the staff, it's from a patient, and it exists, I mean, and because I have that community of mentors and folks that I can kind of bounce ideas off of and say, is this happening to you? And they share those same sentiments. Again, it helps remind me that it's not me. And when I can honestly say that I'm not the issue, I can accept and let go of the frustration because I can't control everybody. You can't.
That it sounds very frustrating, but I get it, like just even sharing the Brene Brown book, but like that speaks to your wholeheartedness, the background that you come from, but it is still very like sad how they see us.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at those numbers, the reality is the reality 2%. So then does that make you go into the spaces to be on these boards is that where that, goal of extending the arm, like how do you hold the door open for the next generation?
I want visibility. I want others to know, like, I was given the opportunity to see somebody directly. You may not see me directly, but you may see me online, you may see me on social media. You may hear about me on a podcast, because I do believe representation allows, a young person to see themselves in that particular person. And if you can see it, you can get to it, and that's like with any other thing. You have to visualize where you're going, your journey, your career, your business before you even start it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really big on that. Additionally, to be honest, like, there are those instances that are uncomfortable, but I mean, when somebody loves you as a Black orthopedic surgeon, they love you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have, a wonderful patient right now that works at UT Southwestern that sings my praise. She goes out of her way. She takes my cards. She'll pick up cards from my office when I'm not there, just to give to friends and family members and church members. And like, they really champion you,
Yeah.
So I've seen that aspect of it where family members hug you and they just really, really embrace you. And even unfortunately, because I do deal, take care of older folks, if a former patient passes away, I've had their significant other come to me and say, I just want to let you know that the last year of my husband's life was amazing because you helped him. And he wanted you to know that, and things like that are more significant than some of the unfortunate parts. And it's because they're like, I've never seen a Black doctor before. You're
really
so passionate and you're so caring, and I wish you the best. So we get a lot of that as well.
So it makes me think, like, are you trying to create that bubble that was at Morehouse and Howard, but give people a taste of that no matter where you are?
I am, because now, again, with social media, with the internet, the world is so much smaller. Back, when dating myself, when just Facebook was here, like you don't see things all the time. Those limited to what's in your immediate vicinity. But now, a little boy in the Philippines or in the Bahamas or, in Ghana, Nigeria can see, I can be an orthopedic surgeon too. Look at him. He looks like me, his hair looks like me, his face looks like me. He's talking like me. Like, why not? And that hope is all you need, because we are some of the most brilliant, intelligent, creative, strong-willed people ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And, the narrative of we only need to be this or that, or we're not good enough, or we're only need to play sports. I mean, that just needs to go out the window. Nothing against my athletes. My brothers know, y'all. I got athletes right now in the league. Y'all know who y'all are, that have graduated, that are out the league, that are, coaches. Like, yeah, y'all are still my boys. Don't get me wrong. But, everybody can't be 6'9" and dunking.
Yeah.
So it's just, you just want to let people know that
they have options.
Yeah,
like
options.
And even athletes. Michael Lito was on the podcast where he helps athletes go beyond the game. Like, you are not just an NFL player. You are not just an NBA player. You can own businesses. You can have franchises. So I think across the board, there's this huge push of who are we? How do we educate? How do we share? How do we take those experiences from Morehouse and Howard and give people little serendipities of those experiences to know like this exists. Because it's the Wakanda, like it's the little Wakandas that are existing that we don't even know. Like I have never been to Morehouse, I've never been to Howard, but the experience alone, I'm like, oh my God.
Got to go to Spellhouse Homecoming. Got to try it once, and it's for all ages, from 18 to 85. Trust me, it's for all ages.
So
Morehouse.
my next question is like, but the fun part of being a doctor, like. Tell us about like what's the best thing about like when you made it, or what was the thing that you were like, man, I made it, and you were able to just like relish in it.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's blazing some Drake or some Big X in the OR, like busy. I mean, I'm still focused. Please. But like, nurses will come by, and be like, wow, sounds like Sunday fun day in this OR. And it's just, that's where I'm comfortable. That's the music I listen to in the gym. I'm driving when I'm at home, it's like, this is my sanctuary. This is my beach, and just having that level of just autonomy, is really, really what makes it fun, and then of course, just seeing patients do great.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, nothing matters if you're not doing good work. And to see patients over and over and over do great is just, it's a dopamine, it's a dopamine hit that reminds me, like, keep on doing it.
Okay. And what was that moment? What did it feel like when you finally got to just like, is it being able to blast your music in the OR, or was it a moment where you were alone and were like, I made it? Or have you gotten there where you're like, I made it at least?
I'm forever going to be learning and trying to improve, and I know there's always going to be a better surgeon than me that can teach me another tip or trick that can make me better for my patients. So I'm still getting better, as you get more and more reps, you still get better. But I will say a total knee replacement was one of my favorite surgeries.
Really?
Where you replace the entire, arthritic knee or damaged knee or anything like that, right? And there's multiple steps that you have to accomplish for a total knee replacement, and each step builds on itself. You can't really skip steps, So I would say one of the most I made it moments was when I memorized every single step and completed it pretty much flawlessly.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, I deserve to be here.
I applaud that. I wanted to be a gynecologist, y'all, and I went to the hospital when I was like 17 and saw blood, and I said, baby girl, this is definitely not for you. And my freshman year, I took a poli-sci class that they said, you don't have to remember dates and you get to speak, and we're going to do a lot of reading. And something about that was like, that sounds me. And then now I see where I am, and I'm like,
it's perfect.
Yeah, because I wanted to be a doctor because it was like, that is what, when you were younger, like what we got to aspire to, where it was like doctors and lawyers. But I do like, and I'm going to ask this next. I have nieces now who are like, I aspire to be a basketball wife, or I aspire to be, there are statistics that kids are wanting to be YouTubers and content creators. Like they're in school saying, this is my goal. How does that make you want to share more of how obtainable this is? And like, it's fun, because I think that's why I asked, like, what joy is there? Because you have there's this huge wave of industries that people are like, absolutely not, which goes back to when it comes to the medical field, the long hours and everything are because there's not enough employees.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand that fully, I talk to young folks all the time, and if you sit at a table of 10 young men and women, you ask them, what do you want to do? 8 of them are going to say something like influencer, YouTube, et cetera, stream. So that's just the culture they are in.
Yeah.
I encourage them continue that aspiration, but also do something else. Why not do both?
Yeah.
I show people, I know other orthopedic surgeons that are also YouTubers.
Yeah.
I know other lawyers that are also stream. I know other, professionals that also have amazingly successful podcasts, and why not do both?
Yeah.
Not limit yourself to one, So I definitely don't want to break their creativity, because I do think it's a wonderful mechanism of just expressing themselves, just channeling their inner creativity. But I encourage them to do both.
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself. Don't just do one. There's only one Casanat, don't just do one.
Everybody's trying to be Casanat, but we gotta let them live. But I think that's powerful when you share the creativity aspect.
Yeah.
Like our creator gave us creativity, and we are here to co-create. So you want to express, and that is also how you heal. A lot of times when people think of the process of healing, when you tap into your creativity and start to just flow, that is a form of healing. So, Brian, I had to ask, what are you doing for your mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, social health?
Yeah. So, everything. I for sure again start with the morning devotion.
Okay.
I just kind of have to. It's kind of how I just ease into my day. It's audio, so I can listen to it while I'm getting ready and things like that. But that's kind of always how I start my day. It's a very quiet morning devotional. If I don't, I kind of feel off, So that's how I kind of ease into my mental and spiritual health. And then I also work out. I'm not as in the gym with 4 or 5, 6 hours like I used to in college, and even in med school, I actually worked out long hours.
4 or 5 hours in a day.
In a day. It'd be a mixture of resistance training, weights, and aerobics of some sort, basketball, running, etc. Now it's still about an hour and a half, but I do about 5 days a week still.
Okay.
Because I believe, one, if your body is strong, then you're healthy, right? Your blood's flowing, adequately. Your mind is sharp, and that helps my mental health as well. So I work out, I do my devotions. Socially, I definitely still hang out. I'm still home, which is good. It's rare to grow up somewhere, go off, and then come back and actually, as an adult, get a chance to thrive out here. So I have an extensive network in Dallas where I'm at different dinner events and different networking events and galas and things like that. And I go out, I enjoy music. I enjoy a good dinner and just kind of enjoy life. And then I really, really, really do cherish my family.
Okay.
And so my family is still here, and that's my recharge time. If I know there's just too much been going on, work's been crazy, I just go to mom's crib, get some good egusi soup, some good fufu, some jollof rice, brother come over, kids come over, and we just all hang out.
Can you cook this stuff?
I actually can.
Okay.
I actually can, and I have. It's just so time consuming. I don't.
Okay.
I haven't in years, but my mom taught us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she taught.
It was like, you naming all this stuff, but can he cook it? Or mom has to.
So I go over there.
Mom can whip it up and be like, you know what? It felt like you've been here for 8 hours. Yeah. And is that how long it takes that long?
So my mom, she's actually a caterer. She has her own Nigerian catering company. So she's an entrepreneur, and that's like where I get a lot of my hustle from is her. She's still till today, almost 70, up, catering weddings, catering conferences, cooking for people's households, literally their personal chef. Once, my siblings and I moved out, she converted our entire garage and annexed onto our backyard 2 different kitchens.
Oh,
she has employees, she has drivers, she has folks that go and serve the food, everything. So she's always cooking.
Oh man, so it's just come on over. It's a plate waiting for you.
Yeah.
No worries. So before you leave, I really want to know, what is an uncomfortable topic, conversation that we haven't had that you want to bring to the forefront to begin to make it comfortable?
I really want to talk about something called imposter syndrome.
Okay.
It's essentially where, you feel you're not good enough. And all of us have, I could have gone from studying 24 hours straight, which is not an exaggeration. You can ask my study buddies. I will pull all-nighters and still feel like I don't know enough.
Wow.
you know, and because of the environment you're put in, especially when I was in residency, especially with the microaggressions, especially with the constant criticism, you know, you start to believe it. And uh, I just encourage people during that time to really talk to your tribe, you know, talk to your community, talk to the folks that know you so they can snap out of it. You know, one of my best friends in medical school, you know, by the grace of God, moved down here for a job, and he's still the person that I go to, like, man, this happened in the hospital today. I had this complication. This patient's not doing so well. I had this, you know, staff member write me up, you know, thinking this is going on. But I'm like, I didn't try to do that. And he's like, remember who you are.
Oh, wow.
Remember who you've always been. Remember that you're covered. You know, remember that you put in all the work. You know, I'm a perfectionist. You know, you train and you focus and you prepare more than anyone I've ever known. Like,
Yeah.
you're good enough for this, you know? And so I just want to tell anyone that's having that imposter syndrome or feels they're not good enough, being overly criticized, you know, that, you know, don't let the noise fool you. You know, believe in yourself, you know, go to your people that are going to pour into you, you know, remind yourself that you're doing this because one, you deserve to.
You're capable. Yeah. But when you were talking about imposter syndrome, the one thing I heard is like, you have to expose it. You have to get it out of you and share it. And you have to have community. When it comes to conversations of discomfort, a lot of times people isolate. And that's where imposter syndrome, when you're scrolling and you're looking, well, this person's doing this. And by this time they're doing this. And by this time, but you're by yourself. Because if I say we're sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, this person's doing this, you'll instantly be like, what? That has nothing to do with anything. That's not your path. You don't know their story. So you have to begin to expose it. How do you get yourself out of the loop? You have to share it with someone and create these safe spaces.
You know, it's being isolated and being on the island is the worst thing you can do, you know, and I'm a personal person that does that, you know, because of shame, right? Because of fear, because of, you know, the discomfort of being ridiculed or say, you know, or having somebody look down and you, like, you want to keep things to yourself. But if you're going through something, if you're feeling adversity, if you're failing at whatever it is that you want to, you know, succeed at, just go to a community, talk to somebody, like you said, let it out. Because you'll imagine somebody else is going through the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, somebody that you look up to already went through that thing and can give you tips. And then two, you realize it's really probably not that bad.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, we get into our mind and for whatever reason, we focus on the negative way more than the positive, you know, and it's just human nature. But like you said, let it out, talk to somebody. And I'm still working on that, but that is something that I encourage folks to do.
Well, thank you, Brian, for sharing that. I think I didn't even realize, like, that's an uncomfortable topic that most people are not. We hear it and it's buzzy. But when you're really in the thick of it, like, it can be the one thing that you're like, just make it comfortable. Go sit with someone and talk about it. And the last thing before we leave, I want to encourage people is when you're considering community is a safe space. If you're bringing real things to individuals and you're feeling invalidated, it's not you all the time. Sometimes it's the people you're bringing it to really can't hold the space for it, have the capacity for it, or may have a level of ignorance, not because they're bad people, but it's their lack of knowledge.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that because in certain situations, everybody can't come, you know, and as much as, you know, as much love as you got for them, as much as I may have gone through in the past, as much, you know, experiences and bonds y'all may have, you know, if they're not pouring into you and helping you make it to that next level, then you could just love them from where they are, you know, and because you need people around you that are going to encourage you, that are going to pour into you, that understand you. And again, this can include family. This can include parents, you know. I hope it doesn't, but it can include your significant other, you know, and if they really can't pour into you, then you need to find that tribe and that community that will.
Yeah.
And that's who you really need to focus on.
I've heard, well, I always say this, everybody has their own boarding pass. Like at the end of the day, if you're meant to level and that person is on the flight, you don't have their boarding pass. They got their boarding pass. They got their assigned seat. Just let them get on the plane. If they're not meant to be on the plane, don't worry about if the plane is going in the same. They may be on a different trajectory, and you got to love them from where they are and not judge them and think anything's wrong. This was something I talked to a great mentor about. It was like, these are great friends. They're really actually successful. Like, but something in my spirit is just like, they're not my friends anymore. And great mentor. He was like, I have a friend, millionaire, great guy, not my friend right now. Like, we're in two separate spaces, and it put this perspective. Like, sometimes we see people have money and certain successes, and you think it guarantees that means that maintains a friendship, but it's like, no, you got to go to the root of like your morals, your values, where you are in this season, your priorities.
I mean, and again, that is something I've been experiencing all too often, is that just because someone else is successful, or another surgeon, or, has buku bread, like, they may not be a good person.
Yeah.
And just because somebody isn't quote unquote successful by societal terms because of they're not rich or they're not in this tax bracket, they can be one of the most wise people in the world that can help you through some of these very complex situations, and you really can't judge people by just their outward success.
Yeah.
And that's what I have. And that's what the people around me have, is what I consider integrity.
Yeah.
Character integrity. Like, can I talk to you and we be real with each other? Can you tell me things that I don't want to hear, but I know I need to hear? And those are the folks that I try to keep around.
Well, I love that. We're going to leave y'all on that note. When it comes to discomfort, everybody experiences it. It is a gift. It is an opportunity for you to lean in. And as we leave this episode, I just want you to know your character, your integrity, your excellence is enough. So just lean in. Thank you, Brian. It has been an honor. Thank you so much. Until next time, guys.